The Soul of Eternity. That's right, we are back and we are ready for our first boss, which is the Grand Thunderbird. This boss is summoned in the desert during the day with a grand flare gun, which I craft right here. This guy is part of the Terraria mod, which doesn't have any higher difficulties, so he should be pretty easy. I built a little arena, and after heading straight back to make some ammo, I'm ready to fight my first boss. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, this boss was really easy. I think I was a little over-prepared with my enchanted sword and arcalis. Something interesting it dropped was a Senzu bean from the Dragon Ball mod. It heals 9,001 life and mana. I think I'm gonna try and avoid using them. They kinda seem a little overpowered, just like the mimic drops. After defeating the bird, I opened his treasure bag and some sandstone ingots, a feather, and a bow. The sandstone ingots can be used to make another enchantment. And also, Sasan the Desert Acolyte moves in. He sells some pretty cool stuff, including a new yo-yo, which I grabbed. It has a little tail on it that poisons on me, which is really cool. And after slaughtering some piggies, I hop straight into our next boss, the King Slime. You know him. Ooh, that was a bit of a close call, but it's okay, because I grab a slimy saddle and shield from him. Like the bird, he wasn't too bad. I think there was a little bit of a mix between Eternity mode and the Death mode from Calamity because of the jewel that was shooting up top. Unfortunately, now that I've defeated a couple bosses, I am cursed and bear the mark to fight Eye of Cthulhu every single night. Seriously, this guy just did not give up. I had to plan every single day like I was gonna have to go back every single night just because I knew I was gonna die if I didn't. I still didn't really want to beat him here as I need to fight the Desert Scourge still, but it's still good practice to try and win this fight. I have never fought this version before. After that night, I venture off to the left a little bit and peep at some water flowing down from a sky island. Unfortunately, it's just a lake. I then set up an insta-house right above the Crimson because I need to get the painter into different biomes. Yeah, it turns out that the painter sells paintings for enchantments that you need, specifically the wooden ones, and you have to move them to different biomes to get him to sell the specific one. I then find myself in the jungle where I managed to find an anklet of the wind, which is really helpful for lightning boots. And after a very annoying interruption from the Eye of Cthulhu, I set up a nice little house in the tundra. The painter then moves in where I'm able to acquire the first painting that I need, and I break the house so he doesn't live there anymore. In that night, I'm able to do the same for the desert and the Crimson. Then later I do the corruption and the jungle to nab the final paintings that I need. I fight the Grand Thunderbird a couple more times as I need a couple more drops from him and some sandstone for the enchantment, and I find myself in the underground desert looking for the Luxor's Gift. The Luxor's Gift is an accessory that shoots projectiles based on the weapon that you're using. It's really good for some extra damage, and I think it might help against the Eye of Cthulhu. Enough about the eye though, I find a beehive and a staff of regrowth before getting brutally murdered by a granite elemental. Following that tragedy, I drink a grav potion and head up into the sky looking for both planetoids and sky islands. I'm trying to find the different ores because there are enchantments tied to them and I want a lucky horseshoe. I then use the earlier materials that I grabbed from the desert to craft the Desert Medallion, the spawn item for Calamity's first boss, the Desert Scourge. Say desert one more time, am I right? Wow, that was another close call. After rebeating him a couple of times, I'm able to craft some Victite armor. And with that, I am now ready for the Eye of Cthulhu. And oh boy, let me tell you. Believe me when I say this boss is not messing around. His first phase isn't too bad, where he just dashes a little bit forward and shoots some projectiles, but in his second phase it gets really bad. It's not even the dashes that are mainly the problem. He has this really stupid attack where he just vomits servants everywhere. I am playing on an older version of the mod as I am in 1.3, but this is just absurd. The amount of enemies that he spawns is just not manageable at all with the current gear I have. You know, despite the 3 previous bosses I fought being really just piss easy, you would expect the Eye of Cthulhu to be around the same difficulty. But no, it actually took me countless nights and trying different weapons and buff potions to finally beat this guy. Call it a skill issue or just say good or whatever you want, but this is just honestly not good boss design. I know I probably could have prepared a little better with like sunflowers or something, but I just could not outrun this guy or his servants, and there was like a million of them on the screen at a time. Also, the amount of damage he was doing to me was insane. It wasn't even the contact damage, it was the debuff that he inflicted every time he hit you. He also had this really annoying thing of like, if you got hit, you couldn't stop swinging your weapon so you couldn't like switch or anything. But of course, I am not no wimp, and finally... You know, looking back, the ultra bright torches probably weren't the best choice for this. After a while, the goblin army decides to bless me with their presence because I had previously broken a shadow orb or two. With them defeated, I find a strange little goblin in a cave. He gives me access to a lot of upgrades, specifically the lightning boots, which are going to be a big help. While in the process of upgrading some stuff, a meteorite lands and I find it on the left of my world, which apparently also starts in acid rain. With all that stuff out of the way, I make my way over to the corruption to make a couple more enchantments. I make the ninja one from some of the stuff I got from King Slime, the sandstone one from the Grand Thunderbird, the iron one, and a couple of the other wood ones. I'm not going to show it every time that I make one, just because there's so many and I can't really keep track that well, sorry. I hop into the caves to mine some mores for some more enchantments where Tim shows up, and it's really weird because like 3 Tims showed up in the span of 20 minutes. I don't know what was going on. While on my mining trip, I find this structure that I remember from Thorium mod. Whenever I played it last, I had trouble finding this place because you needed to fight a boss pretty soon. I was happy to find it so early on, but I don't really need to fight him yet, so I kind of just mark it and leave it for now. After a couple more enchantments, I make my way over to the Sunken Sea, purely because I realized that on like my boss list, the giant clam was the next mini boss, or just the next in order. And on that note, I'm gonna leave that here. Yep.